That voice in your head, the one that keeps whispering doubts, replaying fears, or making judgments. You think it's you, don't you? Well, what if I told you it's not? What if I told you that voice isn't truly you at all? Here's the reality. You're not your mind, just like you're not your body. That constant mental chatter, the one that sometimes fills you with guilt, insecurity, or endless comparisons. It's a fraud, an imposter. It's the voice of your ego, a shadow of your true self, constantly pulling you into doubt and distraction. Think about it. How many times has that mental noise led you astray, filled you with fear, or convinced you you're not good enough? That's not your true self speaking. That's the ego, a lower vibrational projection of the mind. It thrives on keeping you small, feeding off fears and pulling you away from your authentic self. But don't worry, because in this video, you're going to learn how to recognize this voice, separate from it, and discover the powerful, timeless essence that lies beneath it. Your true self, a being rooted not in fear, but in love, peace, and boundless potential. So if you're ready to meet the real you, hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe and stick around, because we're diving deep into how to free yourself from the ego's grip and embrace your authentic, infinite self. All right, let's start by getting a clear understanding of what we mean by ego and how it contrasts with your authentic self. The ego is like a protective mask, a construct designed to keep you safe, but not in the ways you might think. It feeds off fear, insecurity, and a constant sense of separation. Its entire purpose is to make you feel isolated, like a single drop of water instead of the vast ocean you truly are. Think about the voice of the ego. It's that part of you that's always seeking validation from others, the part that's constantly comparing, constantly needing more approval, more success, more reassurance. But no matter how much it gets, it's never satisfied. It's like a bottomless pit, always pulling you into wanting, needing, and fearing. But here's the key. That's not the real you. Your true self is something entirely different. It's the part of you that doesn't need to compare, doesn't need approval, and doesn't know fear, because it understands its connection to everything. It operates from a place of love, unity, and an unshakable knowing that there's enough love, enough purpose, enough peace for everyone. Your authentic self is timeless and expansive, not confined by the limitations and insecurities of the ego. While the ego tries to protect itself from imaginary threats, your true self is drawn to harmony, to peace, and to the knowledge that you're an inseparable part of a greater whole. So, as we continue, remember, the ego is the mask, a construct of the mind. But the real you, that's a divine presence that's always there, patiently waiting for you to tune in. To truly understand the difference between the ego and your authentic self, let's look at some ancient wisdom from Thoth, also known as the Atlantean sage or the Egyptian god of wisdom. Thoth taught that gods are immortal men and men are mortal gods. Now, what does that mean? This teaching speaks directly to the essence of who we really are. It's a reminder that we all have the capacity for divinity within us, that our potential goes far beyond the ego's limitations. When Thoth says gods are immortal men, he's pointing to the fact that what we often see as divine isn't something external or distant. It's within us, part of our highest potential. And when he says men are mortal gods, he's reminding us that we are divine beings, temporarily having a human experience. Let that sink in for a moment. This isn't about worshipping a deity outside of yourself. It's about honoring the divine spark within you. It's about recognizing that your true nature is infinite, timeless, and connected to a cosmic consciousness far beyond the everyday worries of the ego. If you've ever felt that yearning, that sense that you're meant for something greater, that's your authentic self reaching out, trying to guide you back to this truth. It's the part of you that knows you're not just a body, not just a mind filled with thoughts, but something far grander. You're a part of the universal all, the interconnected web of consciousness that makes up everything. So next time you hear that mental chatter, the voice telling you that you're not enough, remember Thoth's words. Remember that you are, in essence, a mortal god. And as you start to awaken to this truth, you'll begin to see that the ego's voice is just a faint echo, a shallow version of who you are at your core. One of the greatest tricks of the ego is convincing you that you're separate from other people, separate from nature, even separate from the universe itself. It's the voice that says, "It's me against the world," or "I have to look out for myself first." But here's the truth. This sense of separation is one of the biggest illusions of all. The ego loves to create walls. It thrives on making you feel like a single drop in an ocean, insignificant and isolated. But your true self knows the deeper reality, that you're not just a drop, but the entire ocean experiencing itself in this unique form. Every person you meet, every experience you have, they're all interconnected. At the core, they're all expressions of the same cosmic energy. This interconnectedness is what spiritual traditions often refer to as unity consciousness. It's the understanding that beneath all our individual identities, we're deeply linked. And it's not just a mystical concept, it's a powerful truth about our existence. It's that part of you that can look into the eyes of a stranger and feel a connection, that can sense the pain of others as if it were your own. It's the part of you that knows, on a gut level, that what you do to others, you ultimately do to yourself. The ego, however, tries to keep you in a state of comparison, judgment, and insecurity. It tells you that you're not good enough, smart enough, or attractive enough. It's constantly replaying the same negative narratives, like a broken record, keeping you trapped in feelings of scarcity and inadequacy. Think about the last time you made a mistake. How did that voice respond? Probably by criticizing you, telling you you're always messing things up. But your true self, it doesn't operate from that place. It sees mistakes as part of your journey, as opportunities to learn and grow. It knows that these experiences are all part of the greater whole, a piece of the cosmic dance that we're all engaged in. So when you catch that inner voice comparing, doubting, or judging, remember, it's the ego, not the real you. The real you sees through these illusions and knows the truth of unity and abundance, beyond the fears and insecurities the ego clings to. It's time to recognize these tricks for what they are and start moving beyond them. Let's talk about one of the ego's favorite tactics, negative self-talk. You know the drill, the voice that criticizes you, doubts you, and questions your worth. The ego uses this inner dialogue to keep you stuck, always feeling like you're not enough. But here's the empowering truth. That voice is just noise, a false narrative that doesn't define who you really are. Think about how often your inner critic replays the same negative stories, always finding ways to undermine your confidence. Maybe it tells you you're not smart enough to succeed, not attractive enough to be loved, or not skilled enough to reach your goals. But that voice isn't coming from your true self. It's the ego, the part of you that feeds off insecurity and thrives in a world of comparison and scarcity. Your authentic self, on the other hand, doesn't see life that way. It recognizes that each experience, even the ones that feel like mistakes, are valuable lessons. Instead of judging or criticizing, your true self looks at these moments as stepping stones, each one guiding you further along the path of growth and self-discovery. In the eyes of your authentic self, there is no failure, only opportunities to expand and evolve. So next time you catch yourself falling into that trap of negative self-talk, pause. Take a moment to ask, is this really me speaking, or is this the ego trying to drag me down? By simply observing that inner critic, you start to weaken its hold. You become aware that you're not the thoughts, but the awareness behind the thoughts. This shift in perspective is incredibly powerful because it reminds you that you have a choice to listen to your true self instead of the ego's limiting stories. And here's the beauty of this shift. When you begin to replace that inner criticism with compassion, you're not just healing yourself. You're also transforming the way you interact with others. You'll find it easier to support, uplift, and connect with those around you. Because when you're no longer weighed down by the ego's negativity, you create space for empathy, love, and a genuine connection to the world. So how do you start breaking free from the ego's grip and tuning into your authentic self? It all begins with awareness, specifically a practice called self-inquiry. Self-inquiry is simple, yet profoundly powerful. It's about observing the voice in your head without judgment, just noticing it. When a thought arises, maybe a fear, a doubt, or a judgment, instead of reacting, ask yourself, who is thinking this? Is this really me, or is this just the ego? This practice was taught by the great Indian sage Ramana Maharshi, who encouraged people to ask themselves, who am I? When you do this, you start to detach from your thoughts. You realize that you're not the thinker, you're the awareness behind the thoughts. You're the observer, calmly witnessing the mind's activity without getting drawn into it. Let's say you're caught in a cycle of anxious thoughts. Instead of fighting them or trying to push them away, take a step back. Observe where they're coming from. Notice how they appear and disappear like waves on the surface of the ocean. And ask, who is it that sees these thoughts? The more you engage with this question, the more you experience moments of clarity, brief glimpses of your true self, the one beyond the noise. As you practice self-inquiry, you may start to experience these quiet spaces in between thoughts. These are moments of pure awareness, where the ego falls silent and you can hear the whispers of your true self, the part of you that's steady, constant, and deeply connected to the infinite intelligence of the universe. Bringing this awareness into your daily life is where the magic truly happens. When you're eating, really taste each bite. When you're walking, feel each step. When you're talking with someone, listen fully, without planning what you'll say next. This presence, this deep engagement with the present moment, is a hallmark of living from your true self. It's the difference between simply existing and truly being. So start by asking the simple question, who am I? And let it guide you into a new level of awareness. You'll discover that the more you identify with the observer within, the less power the ego has over you. With each moment of presence, you move closer to experiencing life from the perspective of your authentic self. As you begin this journey of tuning into your authentic self, remember that awakening is not a destination. It's a process, a journey of peeling back the layers of conditioning and allowing your true nature to shine through. The goal isn't to eliminate the ego entirely. That's neither possible nor necessary. Instead, it's about creating a healthy relationship with it, where the ego becomes a tool rather than the driver of your life. Imagine the peace that comes when you're no longer a prisoner to that constant mental chatter, when you recognize that the real you isn't your fears, your doubts, or your insecurities, but the silent, observing awareness behind them. When you understand this, you gain the freedom to live authentically, to make choices from a place of love and unity rather than fear and scarcity. And here's the real transformation. When you start living from your authentic self, everything changes. You'll notice a deep sense of peace and fulfillment that doesn't depend on external circumstances. Creativity, intuition, and purpose will flow through you naturally. You'll find yourself drawn to actions that benefit not only you, but also the world around you. You'll see the divine in everything, in others, in nature, and even in life's challenges. This shift isn't just about feeling good, it's a profound change in how you experience reality itself. When you truly understand that you're not separate from the universe, but are the universe experiencing itself, fear begins to fade. You start to approach life's challenges as opportunities for growth. Your relationships deepen as you realize that others are just reflections of yourself. Compassion, empathy, and understanding become second nature. So if you're ready to step into this awareness, to quiet the ego, and to live from your true self, join us on this journey. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who could use a reminder of their own divine nature. Let's create a world where more people are connected to their authentic selves, living from a place of love and unity. Because when we recognize that we're all part of the same cosmic dance, we change not only ourselves but the world around us.